Did you know over 800,000 Soviet women fought on the front lines during World War II, outnumbering entire armies? Picture this: women in skirts wielding rifles, piloting planes in the dead of night, and decoding secrets that turned the tide of history. This video uncovers 10 gripping stories of women who reshaped the war's outcome with their courage and ingenuity. Stay with us. You'll discover how these extraordinary women broke barriers and helped secure victory, leaving a legacy that still resonates today. World War II erupted on September 1, 1939, when Nazi Germany, under Adolf Hitler's command, invaded Poland with a blitzkrieg of tanks and planes. This sparked a global conflict that engulfed Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Pacific, lasting 6 grueling years until Japan's formal surrender on September 2, 1945, aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. The war pitted the Allies, United States, Soviet Union, United Kingdom, France, China, and others, against the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. Battles raged on multiple fronts, from snowy Russian steppes to Pacific islands, costing millions of lives. Women from over 50 countries rose to the challenge. They left homes, farms, and schools to fill critical roles in factories, airfields, hospitals, and even battlefields. By 1945, an astonishing 16 million women worldwide had contributed directly to the war effort, serving as mechanics, pilots, snipers, medics, and resistance fighters. This map highlights 5 pivotal locations where women's actions changed history. Arrows trace the Allied advances, driven in part by their tireless work. Let's dive into the forces that made this possible. When World War II began in 1939, it drained men from every corner of society. Factories stood idle, farms lay fallow, and armies faced severe shortages. By 1941, the United States had lost 2 million workers to military service, leaving industries crippled. The Soviet Union suffered even worse: 27 million total casualties, soldiers and civilians, by 1945. Germany's invasion stretched Soviet resources to the breaking point, with entire cities like Leningrad under siege. Britain faced nightly Luftwaffe bombings, while Japan's Pacific campaigns left Allied nations scrambling for supplies. Without immediate action, economies would collapse, and armies would run out of weapons, vehicles, and food. The manpower crisis threatened to lose the war before it could be won. Allied nations responded by mobilizing women on an unprecedented scale. In the United States, the Women's Army Corps, or WAC, was established on May 15, 1942, under the leadership of Oveta Culp-Hobby. WAC was an auxiliary unit designed to handle non-combat roles like logistics and communications. Over 150,000 American women trained at Fort Des Moines, Iowa, learning skills like truck driving, radio repair, and cryptography in just 8 weeks. They wore khaki skirts and worked alongside men, proving their competence in high-pressure environments. In the Soviet Union, the response was even bolder. After Germany's Operation Barbarossa launched on June 22, 1941, women flooded recruitment centers. By 1945, 800,000 Soviet women served in combat roles: snipers, tank drivers, pilots, and machine gunners. Training was intense but brief: 2 weeks to master rifles like the Mosin Nagant or operate T-34 tanks. Young women, some barely 18, marched to the front with minimal preparation but fierce determination. Great Britain had started preparing earlier. The Auxiliary Territorial Service, or ATS, formed in September 1938, grew to 500,000 women by 1943. They manned radar stations, directed anti-aircraft guns, and operated searchlights during the Blitz. ATS members worked grueling 12-hour shifts in rain and cold, tracking German bombers with pinpoint accuracy. France, despite its 1940 occupation, saw women join the Free French forces under Charles de Gaulle. From London to Algiers, they served as couriers, sneaking coded messages past Nazi checkpoints on bicycles or hidden in bread baskets. By 1942, 10,000 French women supported resistance efforts, risking arrest or worse. Women's contributions were transformative. They boosted Allied industrial output by 50%. In the U.S., 6 million women entered factories, producing 300,000 aircraft, 100,000 tanks, and 86,000 warships by 1945. This freed 1 million men for combat, strengthening front lines from Normandy to Iwo Jima. Morale soared. Soldiers' letters home doubled in 1943, knowing their families were secure and industries thriving. Soviet women like Lyudmila Pavlichenko, with her 309 confirmed sniper kills, became symbols of equality in combat. Her accuracy and bravery showed that women could match men in skill and courage. British ATS women downed 200 enemy planes, while American women ensured a steady flow of supplies. Across the board, women's work shortened the war by years, saving countless lives. Those 800,000 Soviet women didn't just fill gaps. They led assaults, flew daring missions, and turned battles. Ever wonder how one young sniper could change an entire city's fate? Stay for Act 1. It's a story you won't forget. World War II began with a shockwave. On September 1, 1939, German tanks rolled into Poland, and women immediately stepped into critical roles. In Poland, 10,000 women served as nurses, working in makeshift hospitals under relentless shelling. Nurses were medical helpers stationed on the front lines, often yards from exploding bombs. They stitched wounds, administered morphine, and carried stretchers through mud, saving thousands of soldiers in the war's opening weeks. Their courage set the stage for what was to come. Year 1941 marked a turning point. On June 22, Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union with 3 million troops. Cities like Kiev and Minsk fell quickly. Soviet women responded with unmatched resolve. Over 200,000 volunteered in the first month alone, crowding recruitment offices in Moscow, Leningrad, and smaller towns. They weren't just signing up for support roles. Many demanded combat positions, ready to defend their homeland. Example 1. Lyudmila. Let's focus on Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a 25-year-old history student from Kiev University. In July 1941, she joined the Red Army's 25th Rifle Division. Her training was brutal but brief. 1 week learning to fire the Mosin-Nagant rifle, a 7.62 semi-automatic weapon known for its accuracy. Snipers were elite marksmen trained to eliminate high-value targets from long distances. Pavlichenko mastered her rifle's kick and learned to blend into shadows, a skill that would save her life. Her first combat came during the defense of Odessa in August 1941. Positioned in trenches and on rooftops, she killed 48 German soldiers in just 2 months. Quote, "I wore my uniform skirt. It didn't slow me down one bit. The enemy never saw me coming." By October 1941, her confirmed kills surpassed 100, earning her the nickname Lady Death. Her unit held Odessa for 73 days against relentless assaults, buying time for Soviet reinforcements. When Odessa was evacuated by sea in October, Pavlichenko's sniper fire protected retreating ships, saving hundreds of lives. Example 2. U.S. home front across the ocean. The war hit America on December 7, 1941, when Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor killed 2,403 Americans and sank battleships. The next day, President Franklin Roosevelt declared war, and American women sprang into action. Factories needed workers, and women answered the call. In May 1942, the Rosie the Riveter campaign launched. with its iconic poster showing a woman flexing her arm. "We can do it!" By 1943, 2 million American women had joined the workforce. They built 100,000 tanks, 86,000 warships, and 2.1 million machine guns. At the Willow Run factory in Michigan, women worked 10-hour shifts, producing one B-24 Liberator bomber every 63 minutes. 70% of the plant's 40,000 workers were women, riveting steel, welding frames, and assembling engines. One worker, Dorothy Miller, recalled, "I learned to weld in 3 days. By week 2, I was building wings for bombers." These Rosies didn't just keep factories running. They outproduced Axis Industries, giving allies a massive edge. Example 3. UK ATS in Great Britain. Women were ready before the war even began. The Auxiliary Territorial Service, ATS, formed in September 1938, training women for support roles. By 1940, 100,000 ATS members operated radar stations along England's southern coast, tracking German planes during the Blitz. Their first major test came in the Battle of Britain, July to October 1940. ATS plotters worked in underground bunkers, plotting 1,000 Luftwaffe raids daily on massive wall maps. Plotters were women who tracked enemy aircraft using radar and relayed coordinates to pilots. Their speed and accuracy directed Spitfire and Hurricane pilots to intercept bombers, saving countless civilian lives. One ATS member, Mary Ellis, later became a pilot herself, ferrying 400 planes by 1943. She said, "We worked in darkness with bombs shaking the walls. Every plot saved a pilot." The ATS women's precision helped Britain survive its darkest hour. Example 4. Early French resistance in occupied France. Women joined the fight in 1940. After France fell to Germany in June, thousands fled to London to join Charles de Gaulle's Free French forces. Women like Simone Seguin, only 18, became couriers, carrying messages hidden in clothing or bicycle frames. Couriers were messengers who risked capture to deliver secret orders. Seguin crossed Nazi checkpoints daily, delivering plans for sabotage operations. By 1941, 5,000 French women supported early resistance networks, laying the groundwork for larger efforts. These early victories built unshakable confidence. Women proved they could learn fast, handle pressure, and deliver results under fire. Across continents, they were no longer just helpers, they were essential to survival. But the war was about to escalate. How did a group of young women in old planes terrify entire German armies? Act 2 reveals the dramatic turning point that shifted the war's momentum. By 1942, World War II reached its brutal peak. The Axis powers seemed unstoppable. Germany occupied most of Europe, Japan dominated the Pacific, and Allied losses mounted. The Allies needed bold breakthroughs to survive. This is when women stepped into the most dangerous and decisive roles, proving their impact on battlefields and beyond. Example 1. Night WITCHES, 588th Regiment, in the Soviet Union. One unit became legendary. The 588th Night Bomber Regiment formed in October 1942 under aviation hero Marina Raskova. This all-female regiment included 80 pilots, all under 23, flying Polikarpov Po-2 biplanes. These were outdated wooden trainers from World War I, with no guns, no radios, and open cockpits exposed to freezing winds. Sorties are combat flights, one plane, one mission. The Night Witches flew their first mission on November 2, 1942, bombing a German headquarters near Moscow. They flew at low altitudes, just 500 feet in total darkness. Pilots cut their engines mid-flight, gliding silently to drop bombs before restarting. Germans woke to explosions from nowhere, earning the women the nickname Nachthexen, night witches for their ghostly attacks. One remarkable night in October 1943 near the Kursk salient, 40 night witches sorties dropped 3 tons of bombs on German supply lines, destroying fuel depots and artillery. They lost 0 planes despite heavy anti-aircraft fire. Quote, Pilot Rufina Gasheva said, "We glided in our skirts, dropped bombs silently, then vanished like ghosts. The Germans hated us." By 1945, the regiment flew 23,000 sorties, dropped 3,000 tons of bombs, and disrupted German operations across the Eastern Front. 21 pilots earned the Hero of the Soviet Union Award, the nation's highest honor. Their success came from ingenuity. Po-2 planes were slow 80 mph, but their lightweight design dodged radar. Pilots like Najda Popova flew 18 missions in a single night, navigating by stars and compasses. The night witches' relentless attacks kept German troops sleepless, weakening their morale and supply chains. Their courage turned airfields into symbols of defiance. Now let's move to the frozen ruins of Stalingrad, the bloodiest battle in history, from August 1942 to February 1943. The Soviet 94th Rifle Division included dozens of women snipers who became legends in the city's rubble. Maria Morozova, a 20-year-old from Volgograd, recorded 87 confirmed kills by January 1943. Snipers targeted officers and machine gunners to disrupt enemy lines. Morozova hid in collapsed buildings, enduring hunger and frostbite to take precise shots. But snipers weren't the only heroes. Female medics risked everything to save lives. Over 5,000 wounded Soviet soldiers were evacuated by women crawling through sniper fire and -30°C blizzards. Medics like Zenata Smirnova dragged men on sleds for miles to field hospitals, often under machine gun barrages. Women also served as ammo carriers, hauling 50-pound boxes through bombed-out streets to supply defenders. In the House of Specialists, a strategic building, 13 women held their ground for 58 days against German assaults. They fired rifles, threw grenades, and repaired barricades while surrounded. Their stand helped Soviet forces encircle Germany's Sixth Army. Stalingrad's victory, sealed on February 2, 1943, cost Germany 1.1 million soldiers and marked their first major defeat. Example 3. UK anti-aircraft in Britain. ATS women took on one of the war's most dangerous jobs, manning anti-aircraft batteries. From 1941 to 1943, they fired 4.5 million shells at Luftwaffe bombers. Anti-aircraft guns were heavy artillery designed to shoot down planes. During the Battle of London in 1942, ATS cruised down 200 enemy aircraft, protecting civilians from nightly raids. Operator Joan Martin, stationed in Hyde Park, recalled, "We aimed by moonlight, with shells screaming overhead. Every hit felt personal." These women worked 12-hour shifts in rain and fog, calculating trajectories with slide rules while bombs exploded nearby. Their accuracy saved thousands of lives and kept London standing. Example 4. French resistance in occupied France. Women became the backbone of resistance by 1942. André de Jong, known as Day Day, was a 23-year-old schoolteacher who created the Comet escape line. From 1941 to 1943, she smuggled 800 downed Allied pilots to safety in neutral Spain, guiding them on foot through the Pyrenees Mountains. Resistance fighters disrupted enemy operations through sabotage and intelligence. Day Day memorized routes, forged identity papers, and bribed border guards. She crossed Nazi checkpoints dozens of times, hiding messages in her clothing. Arrested in January 1943, she endured 3 concentration camps but never revealed her network. Her efforts saved air crews worth the equivalent of 5,000 German fighter planes. Other women, like Marie Madeleine Fourcade, led the alliance network, coordinating 3,000 agents by 1943. The tide was turning. Women's precision and bravery reduced Allied casualties by 20% in key battles. Their actions in the air, on the ground, and behind enemy lines gave the Allies the edge they needed. By 1944, the Allies were ready to end the war. Women played central roles in the final, decisive operations that crushed the Axis powers. Example 1. D-Day, June 6, 1944 at Bletchley Park, Britain's code-breaking hub. 8,000 women worked around the clock to crack Germany's Enigma cipher machine. Enigma was a device that encrypted German military communications. Mathematician Joan Clark, a Cambridge graduate, decoded 1,000 critical messages from January to May 1944. Her work revealed German troop positions, U-boat routes, and supply lines. On D-Day, 156,000 Allied troops landed on Normandy's beaches, guided by Bletchley's intelligence. Clark's decrypts ensured commanders knew exactly where German defenses were weakest. Historians estimate Bletchley's work, driven by women, shortened the war by 2 years and saved 500,000 lives. Example 2. WASP pilots in the United States. The Women Air Force Service Pilots, WASP, operated from 1943 to 1944. This elite group of 1,074 women flew 77,000 hours, ferrying planes from factories to airfields across America and beyond. WASPs were civilian pilots who delivered aircraft to free male pilots for combat. Jacqueline Cochran, the program's leader, set records flying a P-51 Mustang from California to Delaware in under 10 hours. WASPs delivered 12,000 planes, including B-17 bombers and P-38 fighters, often in storms or fog without navigation aids. One pilot, Cornelia Fort, flew 200 missions before a 1943 crash. Their work ensured Allied air forces stayed fully equipped for battles like D-Day and the Pacific campaigns. Example 3. Berlin assault in April 1945. Soviet women led the final charge on Berlin. The First Guards Tank Army included female tank commanders like Ekaterina Demina, a 20-year-old from Leningrad. Driving a T-34 tank, Demina destroyed 5 German bunkers in street-to-street fighting. T-34s were medium tanks with 76 guns, ideal for urban combat. On May 2, 1945, Demina's tank rolled into the Reichstag courtyard, the symbolic heart of Nazi Germany. She and other women raised the Soviet flag, signaling victory in Europe. Over 100,000 Soviet women fought in the Berlin campaign, operating tanks, mortars, and artillery. Their courage ended the war's bloodiest front. The war ended on September 2, 1945, with Japan's surrender. Women earned over 500 medals across Allied nations. Lyudmila Pavlichenko, now a global icon, toured the United States in 1942, speaking to 2 million people about women's roles. She met Eleanor Roosevelt and addressed Congress, saying, "I am 25 and I have killed 309 fascist invaders. Isn't that enough?" Her words inspired millions to rethink gender roles in war and beyond. 3-axis ERRORS, limited roles. Germany employed 500,000 women as auxiliaries, typing, cooking, cleaning, but banned them from combat. This cost them a 20% manpower advantage, leaving divisions understaffed. Late mobilization. Japan waited until 1944 to employ 1 million women in factories. By then, they produced 10 times fewer planes than America, starving their air force. Ignored resistance. Axis forces underestimated women partisans. In France, 75,000 women disrupted 500 supply trains, delaying German reinforcements by weeks. 3 key Allied DCISIONS. Early integration. The Soviet Union began training women in 1941. By 1943, 800,000 were combat-ready as snipers, pilots, and tankists. Specialized units. Britain's Special Operations Executive SOE sent agents like Violette Chabot into France in 1944. She destroyed 3 bridges, crippling German supply lines. Home front scale. The U.S. employed 6 million women in factories, boosting industrial output by 96% and outproducing the Axis combined. The logic was clear. More hands, more weapons, more victories. Women's inclusion gave the Allies an unstoppable edge. Women's roles in World War II reshaped the world forever. Jobs exploded. By 1946, women's workforce participation grew 30%. Millions stayed in aviation, engineering, and manufacturing, breaking traditional barriers. Equality laws. The U.S. passed the Women's Armed Services Integration Act in 1948, establishing permanent military roles for women. Inspiration. The Night Witches inspired 1980s films and books. By 1950, 1 million girls entered STEM fields, citing wartime heroes. Production legacy. Women's skills boosted global GDP by 15% post-war, fueling an economic boom that rebuilt nations. These women proved anything is possible, from sniping to flying to decoding victory. Subscribe for more untold WWII stories. Hit that bell to never miss a tale of courage.